Since the pandemic boom of 2020, Pokemon cards have absolutely exploded in price, garnering international media attention and even the notice of some high-profile celebrities. With certain grail-worthy cards hitting record prices nearly on a monthly basis, it raises an interesting question. What are the most expensive Pokemon cards of all time? Get those sleeves and top loaders ready because today, we'll be answering that question. Hey everybody, what's up from Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. Recently, I've seen a lot of discussion centered around the most expensive cards in Pokemon history, so I decided I'd put together my own top 10 list, including some of the history and context surrounding each card. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Ava's Binder over at TCG Player for this excellent article, as well as to the members of the E4 forum for compiling some comprehensive lists of expensive Pokemon sales that were extremely helpful for researching these record sales. Also, a quick disclaimer, I tried to limit this list to just traditional Pokemon cards only, without including any repeats of the same card. Finally, these are all record sales, so it's worth noting that some of these values have adjusted down, and the numbers here may not reflect the current market values. Now that that's out of the way, let's start the countdown. The first card on this list is one of my personal favorites, and that's Neo Genesis Lugia. Now, when I was younger, I actually pulled an unlimited Lugia from a Neo Genesis pack, and to say it was magical is a bit of an understatement. Yet that pull pales in comparison to this first edition Lugia in PSA 10 that sold for $144,300 on PWCC auctions back in May of 2021. Now, just for context, this Lugia is notoriously difficult to grade, with only 45 PSA 10 copies, despite a total of 3,388 copies graded. A BGS 10 is even more difficult to acquire, with this Lugia being one of only 3 to earn a Gem Mint grade. While subsequent copies of this card have dipped substantially in price, it's still regarded as one of the most valuable English set cards ever released, and for some of us, it's also one of the most nostalgic. At number 9 on the list, we have this Trophy Kangaskhan from the Parent-Child Mega Battle Tournament in Japan. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but behind every good collectible is an even better story, and this Kangaskhan card is one of the most unique. Back in May of 1998, before Pokemon cards even debuted in English, the Pokemon Company hosted a tournament in Japan for parents and children who would battle side by side against other family pairings. With some teamwork and enough wins, participants could earn one of these trophy cards featuring Kangaskhan with its fist raise in victory and its little Joey along for the ride. Now, don't let the simplicity fool you though. This card is extremely rare and extremely valuable. How valuable? Well, just last month in July of 2023, a PSA 10 copy of this card sold for $175,000 on Heritage auctions. With only 54 copies in the PSA population report and only 12 Gem Mint copies available, this Kangaskhan is truly a grail-worthy item. For the next entry, we set our sights on another Japanese trophy card, the Secret Super Battle #1 Trainer card. Now, this card has a cool name and an even cooler history to back it up. Back in the summer of 1999, Japan hosted a tournament series with 9 regional qualifiers, and the top 4 finishers of each of these qualifying events were awarded one of these trophy cards, along with an invite to the Secret Super Battle, which, as the title implies, was a secret location only revealed to winners. Records also suggest that the venue was darkened, and players were bused directly from the hotel to the tournament venue, adding to the atmosphere of mystery. Anyway, this card is one of the rarest cards in Pokemon with just 8 copies in the PSA population report, and of those 8, 6 earned PSA 10 grades, including this copy, which sold for $156,000 on Heritage auctions back in September of 2022. Personally, I think the choice of Mewtwo and the silhouette chiseled from the holo, like it's hiding in the shadows, perfectly fit the tone of this tournament. This next card is a strange one. It's not even a Pokemon, but rather a card featuring the Pokemon Company's long-standing CEO, Ishihara. For those unfamiliar, Ishihara was formerly the founder of Creatures Incorporated and helped develop the Pokemon games in TCG before taking on the role of president and CEO for Pokemon in 2001. Anyway, in 2017, Ishihara celebrated his 60th birthday with the release of his own Pokemon card distributed to a select number of Pokemon employees. In total, 22 graded copies of the Ishihara GX card are documented in the PSA and CGC population reports. While it's uncertain how many copies were created and distributed in total, it's undoubtedly one of the rarest cards in existence. This particular copy, a PSA 7, also features the CEO's signature, graded a mint 9, making it doubly rare. This is likely why this copy shattered the previous sales record, selling for $247,230 on Golden Auctions back in April of 2021. The card itself is a bit strange, but I have to admit, it is a unique piece of Pokemon history. This next card is certainly picture-worthy, and that's because it hadn't been seen since its release over 2 decades ago or ever publicly sold. However, that all changed just a few months ago. On June 6, 2023, high-end collector Dubsy revealed his acquisition of a Snap Pikachu card, purchased raw in Japan for $270,000. Now, the Pokemon Snap cards were part of a 1999 photo contest promoting Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo 64. This contest, orchestrated by Coro and 64 Mario Stadium, included a total of 10 winners, each receiving approximately 15 to 20 copies of their photo produced into official Pokemon cards. Some of these cards have proven notoriously difficult to find on the open market, with the first and only Snap Magikarp selling for $136,000 in early 2022. However, the Snap Pikachu shattered this record, selling for almost double the price. Obviously, that's a lot of money to spend on a single card, especially one that's ungraded. In fact, it's the only ungraded card on today's list. But with the Snap Pikachu in his collection, Dubsy is well on his way to becoming the first and only person to ever complete the Pokemon Snap collection. That is, if he hasn't done so already. At number 5 on this list is another trophy card, but this one predates the trophy Kangaskhan and finds its origin in the very first Pokemon tournament ever. Back in the summer of 1997, Pokemon hosted the Lizardon Mega Battle Tournament in Chiba, Japan. This tournament, which boasted a total attendance of over 21,500 people, was billed as the first national championship tournament for Pokemon and included several regional qualifiers simply to enter. Now, the top 3 finishers at each of these events were awarded a Pikachu trophy card, with 6 of each awarded in the senior division and 9 of each awarded in the junior division, making a remarkably scarce total of 15 copies of each in total. Clearly, this history and scarcity is valued by serious collectors because in April of 2023, a PSA 8 copy of the number 3 trainer sold for $300,000 on Heritage Auctions. Personally, I love the lore surrounding these cards and would personally consider the original 1997 Pikachu trophy cards to be the rarest and most important cards in the history of Pokemon. Well, it was only a matter of time before Charizard appeared on this list somewhere, and at the number 4 spot is a Charizard so rare, its rarity symbol is missing from the card entirely. Seriously though, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this iteration of the Japanese base set, the no rarity cards are essentially the first edition Japanese prints, but instead of a first edition stamp like English cards have, these cards are missing the small black star in the bottom right corner. Now, the omission of this tiny bit of ink makes a huge difference. And this was demonstrated in April of 2022 when a PSA 10 no rarity Charizard sold for $324,000 on PWCC auctions. Now, to be fair, this particular copy was also signed by illustrator Mitsuhiro Arita, adding additional history and value to the card. It's also worth noting how incredibly scarce these no rarity cards actually are. In fact, compared to the 124 first edition English Charizards in PSA 10, the Japanese no rarity Charizard has a PSA 10 population of just 7. With the iconic nature of Charizard, and this being one of its earliest and rarest releases, it comes as no surprise that Charizard would fly up the rankings. This next card is my personal favorite on the list, and probably the most unique Pokemon item that I've ever seen, the prototype Blastoise. Now, a few years ago, collecting communities were dumbfounded by the emergence of a Blastoise that was either an early test print or a counterfeit. The card had a strange comic-style font with various elements noticeably different from the official base set card format. Special power instead of Pokemon power, escape cost instead of retreat cost, and the most noticeable difference was printed on Magic the Gathering cardstock, including the back. Opinions on this card were heavily divided until CGC authentication services were able to verify it through forensic analysis and documentation of early test sheets from Wizards of the Coast. Eventually, this card was graded a CGC 6.5 and sold for $216,000 in July of 2021. However, a second similar version without the magic back and the signature Pokemon Cosmos holofoil pattern actually sold a few months earlier for $360,000. This copy was graded a CGC 8.5 and most likely benefited from being the first on the market. Anyway, discoveries like this always amaze me, especially all these years later. At number 2 on this list is the most iconic card in Pokemon collecting, the first edition base set Charizard. Now, when people think of Pokemon cards, Charizard immediately comes to mind, but amongst all the different iterations, it's still the original base set Charizard that remains the most coveted. What makes this one so special? Well, it's all about history and that small first edition stamp. When Pokemon cards first debuted in the United States in 1999, it was an instant success and a generational craze. In this set, Charizard had the highest HP and the highest attack power. Combine this with Charizard's prominent role in the anime, and this card became the chase card for every kid across the country. However, what makes this card truly special is the first edition stamp, marking it as one of only a few in Wizards of the Coast first and limited print runs. With only 124 first edition Charizards in PSA 10 condition, competition for this lizard remains fierce, with the record sale held on PWCC auctions in March of 2022 for $420,000. Since then, the card's value has retreated significantly, ranging from $200,000 to $350,000. However, regardless of its monetary value, this card will always stand as a representation of Pokemon history and nostalgia to many. Finally, we have a card that should come as no surprise to any avid Pokemon collector or enthusiast, the Pikachu Illustrator card. The Pikachu Illustrator was a promotional card distributed to winners of the Coro Magazine Illustration Contest in 1998. Accounts suggest that 39 total copies were awarded. However, it's unclear how many of those copies survive or if any additional copies made it into circulation. Currently, the PSA population report has 26 copies recorded in its registry, with only 1 copy receiving the top grade of PSA 10. Now, there have been some hefty prices for the Pikachu Illustrator card, including sales of $375,000 for a PSA 7, $480,000 for a PSA 8, $570,000 for a PSA 8.5, and $672,000 for a CGC 9.5. However, these prices pale in comparison to the price paid for the lone PSA 10 copy. On April 2nd, 2022, YouTube celebrity Logan Paul announced his newest Pokemon acquisition to the world by wearing a diamond-studded Pikachu Illustrator, PSA 10, to WrestleMania. After the match, Logan was awarded a Guinness World Record for the most expensive trading card purchase, coming in at $5,275,000. Technically, as Logan recounts in his video, he traded a PSA 9 copy, which he previously purchased for $1,275,000, and $4 million cash for the PSA 10 copy. Either way, it's hard to imagine another card ever eclipsing this historic sale, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this countdown. You'll have to let me know down in the comments below which of the cards on this list you thought was the most interesting or the most historic. Also, if you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel for more. I spend hours and hours on each and every one of these videos, and your support goes a long way in keeping me motivated and on the grind with the content. Anyway, I'm Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. Until next time, everyone, stay well, keep collecting, and don't forget to have fun. After all, that is why we're all here. Bye, everybody.